All right, guys, so EJ's about to come over to film our Sunday and our Saturday prop episode. But since the Eagles lost to the Cowboys and he hasn't done a punishment yet, this is my way of getting him back. So there's a song. It's called Danger by the Migos. It goes, danger, danger. I don't fit in. I'm a stranger. Believer, believer. So what I did was I made it in my way. So I went danger, danger. The Eagles are in danger. Stranger, stranger. The 49ers ain't no stranger. Believer, believer. EJ is a believer. This is my way of getting him back. Hopefully he's not too mad. I'll film his reaction when he gets here. But this is it. So I'm sorry, EJ. Eagles straight up lost to the Cowboys.
Bro, I'm not even reading this whole thing. I'm not even gonna. All I saw was Eagles in danger. I'm not even gonna finish reading it. I'm not reading it.
What is up, y'all? So, as you guys saw, I tried to pull a quick one on EJ. He didn't take it. He didn't really care. But
I saw Eagles danger, and I was like, I'm not in the mood for this. Eagles are in danger. I was like, I'm done. Done reading it.
Danger.
Didn't entertain
Danger.
that.
Stranger. All right. Anyways, today
Jalen Hurts is dangerous. Just watch. Coming back.
I need him for the playoffs.
We're gonna win the division. We're gonna win the division. It's okay.
All right. Well, I don't know about that number 1 seed in the conference, but that's to be decided. Week 15, we are already here. This week, there's a great day, great weekend of football. There's Saturday games. We love it. We're going to give you guys 3 fantasy players that we think you should start for your fantasy playoffs and our 6-man for our Saturday games. I'll let EJ kick us off with his 3 fantasy players first.
Cool. All right, guys. So, for my first fantasy player, it's going to come from the Vikings game, and it is running back Ty Chandler. All right? He played 83% of snaps when Alexander Madison went down this past week. So, if he is the workhorse back, which he will be if Alexander goes down, 100% produce for you, as we saw earlier this year. In Week 10, he had 10.5 points, and in Week 11, he had 15 points. All right? He's a baller. He's explosive. He's the receiving back. All right? With the way you're reacting, was that also your fantasy player?
No. It's just like, I knew this guy was going to be good. I put a lot of money on him in fantasy to get him on my team, and I didn't get him.
Yeah, Stevie put $60 on him.
Damn, I put 45.
And Stevie ain't even going to make the playoffs, so it's okay.
I ain't in the playoffs either. Whoa, 2 leagues I am. In his league, I'm not.
Is what it is. But he's playing the Steelers. He's playing a Bengals team that is middle of the pack. All right? They allow 16th most fantasy points out of all 32 teams, so right dead in the middle. And he's on a team with very struggling quarterback play. All right? Josh Dobbs is not playing good. They are considering benching him. In that situation, they usually have a run-heavy scheme in a game that they must win because they're in the playoff hunt at 7-6. I got Ty Chandler balling out for you on the Minnesota Vikings and my first fantasy player. Then, my second fantasy player, I got Josh Downs, okay? He's a slot receiver for the Colts. Is that also your fantasy player?
I just really love these players.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think they're all high floor players and it's playoffs, so you may be searching because we suffered a lot of injuries last week, on the last week of the season. So you may be looking for a guy like this who is playing a Steelers team that has given up at least 100 yards to the slot receiver position in 9 out of 13 games this year. That is a lot, okay? So the Steelers are very, very vulnerable to the slot receiver position. And also, Josh Downs, over 50% of his, snaps are out of the slot. Since the Week 11 bye, he's had no less than 3 receptions. That presents you a pretty good floor in PPR leagues, all right? So if you need a flex player with a pretty safe floor, I like Josh Downs for you going against a Steelers defense.
Let me just add something to that. Juju Smith had 82 yards on the Steelers with Bailey Zappi throwing him the ball. Zeke out of the slot had 54 yards receiving and a touchdown. That's enough said.
I agree with what he just said, and I thought about that. When I was thinking about fantasy players in these games and I saw the Colts game, I was like, Juju. And I've seen throughout the season that Puka Nacua did not play good against the Steelers.
No.
I mean, he played great against the Steelers and went off. So I 100% agree.
Don't look on the
Cooper
TV
Kupp
screen
did
right
too.
Don't look on the...
Eagles, Cowboys. I do. Give us more views and I will punch this TV.
Favorite
God,
to win MVP.
I don't even want to see this, man. Can we, like... No, it's fine. All right, so brings me to my last fantasy player as I got my back to these hating-ass mofos. Jerry Jeudy, all right? It is hard for me to say this, just as it is hard for me to hear these guys on the TV screen behind. I'm glad that it's completely off now. And Jerry Jeudy's hurt me a lot this year, but he's playing a Lions defense that is very, very weak against the pass. Their number 2 cornerback is hurt, all right? Their linebackers are hurt. Everything is hurt, okay, on the defensive end. That's why the Chicago Bears beat them 28-13 last week. Okay, their defense is not good. Jerry Jeudy got 6 targets last game against the Chargers. I think 100% he can capitalize this week because he dropped a big ball last week against the Chargers, and he's going to produce for you this week in a pretty high-scoring game in Detroit where you don't have to worry about the weather because it's in a dome.
They're calling Dak Prescott in Prescott.
I don't care.
In Prescott, nice.
Just like your little poem that you wrote me, I don't care about that either. Let's go. These guys don't know what they're talking about.
It's so ironic. EJ hates the Cowboys, he hates Stephen A. Smith, and he hates the fact that Dak Prescott is leading MVP.
And that's why I don't watch First Take.
And that's on the TV right now. I forgot to turn off the TV. I didn't expect this to come up at all. This is funny. I love it. To my fantasy players, though.
I love Shannon Sharp, though.
I know.
I don't know why
he hates the Cowboys, so you could at least bond with him. All right, to my first fantasy player, we lost a very key fantasy quarterback this weekend in Justin Herbert. I don't know why I just call him Josh Herbert. Fantasy teams may need a quarterback. Well, consider this as your option. Nick Mullins on the Vikings, okay? He plays the 22nd ranked pass defense in the Bengals, and he has absolutely zero film on him, in which we've seen in the past this does good for quarterbacks in the first 3 games that they don't have any film on them.
Absolutely.
Also, he has weapons like Justin Jefferson, which Coach O'Connell said he has a good chance to play this week. Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne, and TJ Hawkinson. You could make any quarterback look good with these guys, okay? He can very well give you some production for a fantasy team who lacks a backup quarterback to their injured starting quarterback. If you have Justin Herbert or any other quarterback that is hurt going into this week, you should pick up Nick Mullins. He's available, okay? I know he's not the good quarterback, but right now he's the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. To my second fantasy player, Gardner Minshew, another quarterback option you could pick up for this week if you are struggling at that position. Again, as I mentioned, there are teams in fantasy football that are needing a quarterback right now, okay? Since a few are banged up last weekend and beyond. Minshew is available on most waivers. Around fantasy football right now, he's been hot lately, connecting with Pittman and Downs on most of his plays. Backing up EJ's fantasy player on Josh Downs, okay? His last 3 games, he has dropped no less than 14 points and no more than 18. He can be a safe 14 to 20 points this week in your playoff, depending on who you have at your skill positions. Hear me out clearly on this. If you have someone like Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf as your 2 receivers, and then at your backs, you have someone that's a high-volume running back. I can't think of any names off the back right now, but you get what I'm trying to say. This guy could get it done for you. Also, Minshew may be a good option, but Pittsburgh is 7 versus the pass this game. Is in Indianapolis, though. It's an indoor game, so Pittsburgh defense can't rely on the weather conditions.
That helps them out a lot.
The most points Minshew has scored at home was 27. Okay?
The most?
Yep, and guess who it was on? The Browns. Browns defense much better than the Steelers defense.
Best in the league.
Again, indoors, defenses that are from this division don't matter indoors. So, consider this as your backup option for this week. I just gave you 2 quarterbacks. If you have Justin Herbert and don't have anybody on your bench, I ran into this problem earlier in the year and I had no options. I had to
or
pick
if you were riding with Josh Dobbs.
Yeah.
Some people were.
I had no options when Jalen Hurts got hurt, or
Joe Burrow,
or when Lamar Jackson got hurt. I had no options. This would have been good for me to know. Okay, now to my last fantasy player coming out of the Sunday night football game. Yeah, Josh Reynolds. Okay, what's
Saturday night football game.
Saturday night football game. I'm sorry, Saturday night football game. Okay. Josh Reynolds, with this Lions offense struggling the past few weeks to get anything going in the pass game, Josh Reynolds has been a solid and effective playmaker. He's a flex considered player for me this week. We saw a lot of injuries in week 14 to key players and players that you may have at your flex. For example, Nico Collins, right? Justin Jefferson also out there. A lot of players were getting hurt this week, okay? But here's what I'm going to say about this guy. Reynolds last week had 13.4 points and scored a touchdown. That gives him a good case to be involved more in the offense, more in the future that has been struggling. And with Denver being 6th ranked in the pass defense, their focus will be on Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams the most. This will open up guys like Josh Reynolds. Okay, we've seen him produce when those guys are taking out the game. He brings energy and is an explosive player when given the chance. Consider this as a flex or even a roster spot on your fantasy teams going into the playoffs. He can produce for you, and if some guy goes down, like we've seen, Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jameson go down, he could put in there and give you some points.
He also played with Jared Goff on the Rams, so he's been with Jared Goff for a good amount of his career. So Jared Goff does trust him, and I'm with you on that. I was thinking about potentially putting Jameson Williams on there because I was like, Patrick Surtain might be locked in on Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the Broncos defense has played a lot better, so they might want to take away the number one weapon. So I'm with you on that. A different receiver other than Amon-Ra may give you some production.
I like it. I like
it a
lot.
That's our fantasy plays. I think they can 100% produce for you if you're in trouble and need to fill in a starting spot on your team. I like that you brought us some quarterbacks, 100%, because a whole bunch of quarterbacks, record-breaking number, we have lost this year.
I know, Nick Mullins, I saw your face kind of turn like, I get it, but he's right now getting starting reps at practice. He's projected to score 19.4 points.
Wow. And the Vikings are playing the Raiders?
Vikings are playing the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, they're playing the Bengals. Yeah, no, you're right about that. That might
Justin Jefferson has a good chance to play.
Backup quarterback, though, so Ty Chandler, don't pass, drop down.
I'm telling you, Nick Mullins might be a little dime in the dozen right there. I'm telling you, you could definitely pick him up for your playoffs. I don't know if I said that right.
Diamond in a rough.
Diamond in the rough.
Okay. All right, so that brings us to our props. Joe Mixon, over half a rushing touchdown, or passing, or receiving. I just think he's going to get in the end zone. The reason I think that is because the Vikings have allowed 7 touchdowns in 13 games this year on the ground. All right, that is over 50% of their games that they have allowed a running back to get into the end zone. Also, Joe Mixon has scored in back-to-back games, and he has scored in 3 out of 4 games where Jake Browning is the quarterback. In the last 4 games where Joe Mixon has got hurt, he has gotten into the end zone. I think they keep that going in a game that they must win against a good team that also must win with the Vikings. We have 2 playoff teams or playoff hopefuls that are going at it. They need to win the game, and Cincinnati is much in the picture after beating the Colts. They want to win. They have backup quarterback. They're going to try to get Joe Mixon in the end zone. Like I said, 3 out of 4 games without Joe Burrow. He's gotten into the end zone. I like the matchup against the Vikings and Joe Mixon getting a touchdown.
Easily.
Now, what's up?
No. I said easily.
Yeah.
That's I like that.
I think he gets in the end zone for sure. They're not going to mess around. Also, Gardner Minshew, over 233 passing yards. He's passed this mark in 3 straight games. He also has gone over this mark in 50% of his starts this season where he's played all 4 quarters. He's playing a Steelers defense who's allows 244.6 yards per game. That's ranked 21st. So his line is set at 233.5, and they allow 244. That's 11 more yards on average than this prop is set. I like for Gardner Minshew to continue this hot streak going. Like I said, he passed this in 3 straight games. Also, Bailey Zappi just had his best game and only game over 200 yards against the Steelers defense. Sorry, not to degrade your starting quarterback, but I think Gardner Minshew, who is a little more polished, can go also over 200 yards and the 233 that it's set at. Bailey Zappi got 240 for you, and it was also in Pittsburgh. You don't have to worry about the weather in this game because it's played in a dome in Indianapolis. So I think all these games might be played in a dome. If I gotta check where the Vikings game's at, but Colts is in a dome, and then the Broncos are in a dome because it's
the Vikings
Lions.
game's in Cincinnati.
In Cincinnati. Wow, that sucks for them. All these teams could have got a dome game, but not them. And Cincinnati's cold. All right, now takes me my third prop. This one is a little sketchy, but I think is what's going to work for you. And I wanted to switch up the teams because Seb's giving you a Lions prop, and I'm going to give you a Broncos with Russell Wilson over 200 and also 33.5 passing yards. Detroit, their defense is very injured right now. All right, they've given up 237 yards on average the last 3 games. That's 4 more yards than this prop is set at. Justin Fields is not a very good quarterback through the air, and he just had a very productive game, and I'm pretty sure it was under 200 yards. So the fact that they are at average of 237 in the last 3 games, with their last game being under 200, means they've been very vulnerable to the pass. And he got like 196, which is still pretty good for Justin Fields. And it was in Chicago, so the weather wasn't all that great. They're ranked 19th in allowed passing yards games throughout the entire season, all right, with 227. So that's not far off from the 233.5. And they're playing a defense that was ranked number 1 against the run through the first 6 weeks of the season. So they're not going to be able to run the ball. They're going to have to pass this ball. And like I said, the defense is pretty banged up. Also, they're still very strong against the running back position. So, like I said, they're going to have to pass the ball. As running back position only averages 60 yards per game throughout the whole 13 games that they've played. All right? Meaning this defense is very, very vulnerable through the air because they stop the run. They're just like the Eagles. They're number 1 in the run, but we get killed in the pass. All right? Russell Wilson is averaging 199 yards per game through the last 5 games, so I think this line is set a little low, all right? And I think you should take advantage of it. Sean Payton and the Broncos have seemed to figure things out lately as they find themselves only 1 game back from the division-leading Chiefs, all right? There's a month left in the season. They're looking pretty good in a must-win game against another playoff team in the Lions, who also need a win. They're not going to mess around. The Lions are going to stop the run. The Broncos are going to be forced to pass the ball, and I got them going over 233.5 passing yards.
Okay, that's fair. I'm trying to see who Stephen A. puts out as number 1 on top 5.
Number 2, Cowboys, 3 Ravens, 4 Chiefs, 5 Dolphins. The Eagles aren't even in there. That's insane. I don't know how you put the Dolphins in there. The Eagles blew them up.
Okay.
The Niners, we knew that was coming.
Okay. All right, so for my first prop, Jake Browning over 234.5 pass yards. I like this prop a lot. In his last and only 2 games as a starter this year, he had 354 and 275 pass yards. Minnesota has a 16th ranked pass defense and tend to give up big numbers to opposing quarterbacks and receivers. They allow 218.8 pass yards per game and struggle versus teams that have dynamic receivers like the Bengals do. However, their last 3 games, they have allowed an average of 198 pass yards, with their defense being stellar the last few games. But the Bengals are hot with Jake Browning. Vikings are due for a shootout game. We haven't really seen much of it recently, but they are due for one. And this game will be interesting. Browning should get over this line at least. He should at least be able to get 250 pass yards at home. I mean, I don't see why not. All right, now to my second prop, and this one is gonna back up EJ's prop of Gardner Minshew. If one of them hits, they're both gonna hit. Okay.
I like that.
Michael Pittman Jr. over 77.5 receiving yards.
Ooh, let's get it.
This is Gardner Minshew's number 1 target.
Easy.
In his last 4, he has had no less than 84 yards and no higher than 107, with having a back-to-back 100-plus yard game in this stretch. The Steelers are 17 versus the receiving game, and last week gave up 82 yards to Juju Smith-Schuster. What does that tell you? Also, the game was at home in Pittsburgh. They gave up 82 to Juju, and this one's in a dome. Please. This game is in Indianapolis, like I just said. Colts have been fairly hot, fighting for that playoff spot, while the Steelers are falling apart slowly. As I said, Steelers suck. Okay, but surely. I expect Pittman to have a huge game versus Steelers. They allow an average of 226.9 pass yards a game. Pittman and Downs should see The Rock a lot this game. Both teams are in a must-win. But Steelers don't have a quarterback, which Mitchell Trubisky is
The Colts
awful.
really need to win this game. The Steelers do too, but the Colts really do
The
because
Steelers,
they're 6-7.
The Steelers are trending down while the Colts are trending up.
Well, the Colts just lost to the Bengals. That's
Yeah, but
big.
before
made
that-
life a lot. Yeah, they were trending up.
They were.
But with them losing if they lose to the Bengals and the Steelers,
They got to get back on
at
track.
6 and 8, they're falling out of that playoff spot.
Point is, Steelers are not as hungry as the Colts are. It's true. They're not.
How? They just lost to the shit Patriots at home.
And
How are you not hungry after that?
And the crap Cardinals before that, they're not hungry. If you're going to let 2 teams come into your home that are out the playoff picture since week, 6? And you lose, yeah, there's no hope for you. It's over. It's over.
I think they'll be a little pumped up.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying they're going to win, but they
Last prop for our completed 6-man, David Montgomery over a half anytime touchdown. I
love it.
I hope this prop doesn't get taken off before I put this up. He is playing the 32nd ranked rush defense in the Broncos. It's a Lions home game. He scored a touchdown in every home game he's played in this season. Playing the last ranked rush defense, this is a favorable play. Broncos have been hot. Lions have not. I see this game being the switch between the two. The Lions get back on track. When they get Montgomery going, they don't fail to accomplish that. The Broncos allow 1 rush touchdown per game on average this year. And David Montgomery is also the red zone back.
He only hasn't scored in 1 game this year, and that was last game.
I see the tide.
Only 1.
I see the tide shifting between the two in this game. I see the Broncos starting to go back to who they were in the beginning of the year, and the Lions going back to who they were in the beginning of the year. So the playoffs get closer. A lot more things are intense. You could see players get more involved, which makes our props easier to hit. Like I said, put our 6-man together. I like it. You like it. I like to win some honey on EJ's account. Give us some dough for the playoffs to play with.
House money.
And then the Super Bowl too. We want to put $1,000 on the Super Bowl, right, buddy?
That would be great.
If we have house money in $1,000, we just put it all on the Super Bowl, and if we hit, you get yourself a new car. I like that. All right.
That would be $25,000. That'd be real nice.
Here you go.
$1,000 for
I like that.
$25K.
Hopefully you think
Follow
like
our
us.
props.
We'll catch you guys on our Sunday episode. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe. Please, we need subscribers. We would like you guys to subscribe so we can blow up and help everybody else in the world with our props. Also, follow us on Instagram. We have some spicy things coming out as the playoffs approach.
Yeah, and you're going to want to give us a whole bunch of subscribers because when February comes, we're going to make 1,000 into $25K. So.
Oh, yeah.